All right, I will call to order this May 26, 2022 meeting of the Temecula Public Traffic Safety Commission. We will start with a flag salute by Commissioner Carter.
Saluting the flag, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And roll call, please.
Ackerman,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Maddox,
Here.
Richardson,
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
All right, I assume no public comments, and we will then continue to the consent calendar. And I inquired this week, and we do not need to read the paragraph anymore, as City Council does not. Yay. So our only action here is to approve the action minutes of April 28th, 2022.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Ackerman,
Aye.
Carter,
Aye.
Maddox,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
All right, and so on to business. Item 2 is De Portola traffic calming.
Good evening, Commissioners. This presentation is regarding the traffic calming for De Portola Road. Oops. In early 2022, staff received several requests from a resident to consider speed bumps, some dips, any type of physical barrier on De Portola Road to deal with excessive vehicle speeds between Jedediah Smith and Margarita Road. The resident mentioned difficulty entering and exiting their driveway due to excessive speeds, and then also illegal maneuvers by frustrated drivers as he slowed down. They would kind of get a little aggressive. We communicated to the resident that the city doesn't do speed bumps and dips or barriers, mainly for fire emergency and access. We don't perform those type of traffic calming measures. But we told them we would review it to see what else we could do in form of traffic calming. Due to its limited street section width, there's really no striping options we can do here. We have a really thin width of the roadway. It's rural nature, so we considered V-calms, but there's no street lights or anything to put them on, so it's not the best situation for that. So we determined that our best traffic calming option at this point is to provide additional police enforcement and also deploy the speed radar feed trailers just to warn motorists to kind of slow down on De Portola Road. We'll continue to monitor this area, and we'll reanalyze conditions as things change on De Portola Road in the future. And with that, staff's recommendation for the commission is to receive and file this report for additional police enforcement with occasional deployment of the radar speed trailer. This concludes our presentation on this subject. Are there any questions?
I've got one. At Jedediah, is that where a future rotary is going to be going in?
Yeah, so that's one of the locations where we're considering a roundabout in the future, and when that happens, that's when we're going to kind of come back and look at what else can be done.
Cool, thank you.
So I understand it's not wide enough for our traditional striping, but I did wonder if we had looked at like optical speed bars. So more, those would be like transverse markings on both sides of the road. If you think of it sort of like the markings on a ruler, where they're perpendicular to the direction of travel, and they'd be spaced, you know, in a pattern of progressively reduced spacing to make the driver feel like they're going faster, trick them into slowing down. Is that maybe something that could work out there?
We haven't considered that. We've never done that in the city. I've seen it used in City of Vista before. It's where I live. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I do think it works to a degree, but I do know they eventually lose their effectiveness. So
Right.
I don't think it's a permanent solution, but that's something we can certainly consider in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Just one other thing to note too is that section of De Portola is designated in the general plan to ultimately be 4 lanes. So at some point in the future, that would potentially be widened through there.
I don't have as much a question as a comment. I live in the area. I travel that area often. I think given the proximity to the hospital and the accessibility for emergency response, I think we really want to limit the interference, speed bumps and stuff like that. Obviously, it's not something we're going to pursue. But that to be said, I think that considering that area is primarily used as a bypass for the main arteries, I would be curious to see once we increase, or once the police increase enforcement there, to see what our ticketing looks like and see maybe from there before we do anything bigger.
Sure.
I guess my questions are, do we ever do like driveway line of sight to make sure all those people don't have obstructions, or do we not go there as a city?
Individual driveways, we typically don't, but that is one thing we checked. The resident who complained, we checked their driveway out, and it was very difficult to see.
It was.
They have a very thin driveway. It doesn't have like the apron to open up, so you can't even really tell as you're driving. But I think that comes down to residents probably fixing that. But Pat, I'll let you handle that.
Yeah, and you know, at say, for example, if there was a new custom home being built with a new driveway, we would look at visibility in that case. But being that all those homes and driveways have been there for a long time, I would imagine that really wasn't taken into consideration at the time. But it's certainly something that's, you know, of importance. Right. And if there was something new, we would look at that, but that wasn't done for those driveways that are out there, I'm sure.
But we can, you know, the person who complained, we go, my gosh, they have poor line of sight. We can make a recommendation that's something they can take care of.
Yeah, a lot of the potential, you know, blockages is vegetation, and, you know, keeping that cut back is the best thing you can do to maintain that visibility.
And I know both on de Portola to a lesser extent, but on Rancho Vista, which I drive more often, some of the driveways come up to the road, which also makes it more difficult, right? Mm-hmm. To not back down, you need to really get up there and almost out in the street. So there can be challenges with elevation, driveway elevations there too. So I did notice on the images you showed that there is a median on that road, at which residents, I assume, can turn left into the median. Is there any possibility to, when we restripe eventually, widen that median slightly, making that a safer option and the lanes slightly narrower as we normally do for traffic control? Could we look at that?
Absolutely. When we get to that point, we'll look at any way to try to reduce speeds with striping at that point. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, Rancho Vista Road and Pauba Road traffic calming.
Thank you. Yeah, this presentation's on traffic calming for Rancho Vista Road and Pauba Road. In December 2021, City of Temecula staff received a request from Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem Schwenk to consider traffic calming measures for the excessive speeding on Rancho Vista Road, especially during school pickup and drop-off time. And this is in between YNEZ Road and Margarita Road. Staff conducted speed and volume data collection on Rancho Vista and found that while speeds were in the range of the posted speed limit of 50 miles an hour, we do consider that as sort of excessive for a roadway like that 50 mile an hour posted, but people are following that speed limit. So knowing that, we wanted to review Rancho Vista Road and see what we could do to potentially try to reduce that speed limit, and traffic calming is the way to try to do that. As we were reviewing it, we noticed, you know, Pauba Road is very similar to Rancho Vista Road, and we do get complaints on Pauba Road about excessive speeding from residents as well. So we took it upon ourselves to not only look at Rancho Vista, but we're also looking at Pauba Road for this traffic calming. Rancho Vista Road is a 64-foot wide secondary arterial, and it provides access to numerous single-family residents west of YNEZ Road, or east of YNEZ Road. The posted speed limit on Rancho Vista Road is 50 miles an hour, and the average traffic is 9,700 vehicles a day. Pauba Road is a 64-foot wide secondary arterial as well. It provides access to residents as well. The posted speed limit varies from 40 to 45, and the average daily traffic is around 11,600. As you can see from the photos, both roadways contain various striped lane conditions that may not be required for the low ADT. These ADTs are pretty low for this type of road. If you have a single lane with a turn lane in the middle, single lane in each direction turn lane, you can typically get up to around 18,000 cars a day. So this is why we considered, hey, potentially a road diet here could work. And these roadway sections on Rancho Vista, it varies a lot. There's some 4-lane section roads, or it comes down to 2 lanes. Pauba Road is essentially 4 lanes, but there are portions where it goes down to 1 lane in each direction, and we thought, we don't really have a backup, so I think traffic calming could work. So we developed some cross sections of what we're thinking is going to work from a traffic calming perspective. This road diet striping shows 2 different locations. For the most part, it's going to be 1 lane in each direction with the striped median. It's going to have buffered bike lanes. And then when you're in front of Ronald Reagan Sports Park, we're going to have parking. And by the way, I want to say this is all conceptual right now. We're just throwing things on the wall, and we got to go through various approvals of people, but we wanted to see what would actually work and also get your opinion. And then for the rest of it, we remove the parking if you're not in front of the park, and we just have wider bike buffers for the rest of the roadway in between YNEZ and Margarita. Pauba Road is essentially the same thing. 1 lane each direction, 2-way left turn lane, and then buffered bike lanes, really wide buffered bike lanes. Then now we're going to share what we have designed conceptually. We're getting high tech here for this meeting. So what we did here is actually we designed everything in CAD and then we brought it into Google Earth. We thought this was a little bit easier than a static presentation to kind of just fly it over and see what we're talking about here. So generally it's 1 lane each direction, but when you get to a traffic signal, we widen it back up so we can get the throughput at each signal. So that's where you'll see some differences. You can see as we go along the corridor, we have the turn lanes, or it's striped out as a median. You got the buffered bike lanes, and then you still got 1 lane in each direction with that 2-way left turn lane. There are some limitations we can't show. With Google Earth and we bring in CAD, there are limitations. We can't show dashes and stuff like that, so this is just all solid lines. Just want to be clear on that. It's not the best, but we're still working and figured it out. Eric spent a day and a half trying to figure this out, and we're happy we got this at this point. But that's just kind of what it looks like. And when we get to the park, you can see we push the bike lane off the curb a little bit, and this allows for parking along the park. But generally, we think this is a pretty good option, considering you have single lane at multiple locations on here. And we think this is going to reduce speeds on this road that has parks, schools. We think this is a pretty good option. And then for Pauba's a lot easier. There's no park. It's basically the same cross-section that I mentioned, 1 lane in each direction, 2-way left turn lane, and buffered bike lanes, basically all the way through the whole roadway section. And we think this works on Pauba as well, because we recently did some restriping on Pauba east of Margarita Road, where we put it down to 1 lane as you go eastbound. So we think that has a little bit less traffic, but it's pretty similar enough that we think it would work. And with that, staff's recommendation for the commission is to receive and file this report for staff to continue design on road diet striping along Rancho Vista Road and Pauba Road. That concludes this presentation. Any questions?
Sure, I guess I'll go first on this one. Can you go back to the image of the pictures of Rancho Vista Road,
Sure.
the intersection shots you had right there? So this is, the picture on the left here is westbound. This is one of the items I put at the top of my list during our survey of what bugs us. That our I guess, buffer on the right here forces people to the left, but there's the first entry to the sports park here. So I see that there's rear-end conflicts there regularly, especially Saturday morning as we're arriving here. So will that be eliminated by the new striping?
Yeah, we'll have the center line striping so you can get into a turn lane to make a left in, and so you don't have that rear end issue.
Okay, so it does fix that concern.
Yep.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to mention is, this is major work, so we would only be doing this work when we're doing a big pavement rehabilitation job. So don't know when Rancho Vista is occurring. I think Pauba's further along, I think next year.
Yeah, Pauba is in our overlay
CIP.
program for next year. So that's when we would be doing that restriping and most likely be able to incorporate Rancho Vista into that as well next year.
Very good. I will say that speeds on Rancho Vista have been concerned. We have Temecula Valley High School, so I would say it even goes east of Margarita. And I've been on the commission a while, and we saw the speed be raised twice, I think, to get to 50 because of the California law that we must make the speed limit however fast people are speeding. Now that we're not in that boat, do you think we'll go the other way eventually? Because there's multiple schools and a sports park on this road. I feel it's too fast personally.
I think when we do restriping and stuff like this is a great way to start lowering those speeds.
Yeah.
The problem with this road is the verticals. There's a lot of downhill, and it's honestly, as you're driving, it's hard to get down to a 40-mile-an-hour speed with those grades, but striping's gonna have to help us do that.
Right. I almost daily use Rancho Vista both directions, and eastbound, where it's very narrow in that stretch, if someone wants to make a left into the houses on the south, there's basically nothing there. And at 50 miles an hour, the cars come from behind and are stopping, very aggressively
Yep.
to make a stop. So I do think that's one of our more hazardous stretches of road from Meadows to Margarita there. So anything we can do out there is good. I guess I'll end with A+ for the Google Earth. Love that. I did a while back. Did a little of that in my engineering work a while back. That is not easy. That was really good work. So A+.
We spent some time on it, but I think we're gonna be much quicker in the future.
Yeah, just a little bit of a tangent. I saw in the capital improvement program, there's a brand new multi-use trail system kind of planned for around the sports park up in the hills. Just curious if there's any plans for that to link up with the public utility access roads, or if there's any plan for additional crossing.
Well, what we've looked at so far on that project to develop those trails is to connect to the sports park around Reagan, and not necessarily to any of the utility easements, but that's certainly something that we can look at and incorporate into that project as well. We're right at the beginning of the actual design for that, so we'll make sure we pass that along to be able to try to tie those trails into other trails in the general vicinity there as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's exciting. Thank you.
I'm just curious, you guys mentioned that when you ran your report, got your data on this, the speeds on Rancho Vista were generally within the speed limits. Was Pauba the same way, or were those elevated?
Those were around the 40 and 45 miles an hour. A little bit above it, but they were still
Okay.
within the reason.
So I guess I'm just trying to understand that, I think the plan is excellent. I echo everything about Google Earth. I've never seen that. That was pretty cool. But if our goal is to reduce speeds and we're finding that our residents are driving the speed limit, I think it can kind of make a confusing message there. And I think that this is a good plan and something we should definitely consider, but I think going off JR's comment, we maybe want to look at if we feel people are driving too fast for safety, maybe lowering that speed limit in conjunction with this, just so that we can ultimately accomplish a safer community. I think that was my confusion in this whole thing.
Yeah, and so part of the goal of the restriping would be to attempt to get the speeds down and then be able to survey it at a lower speed and be able to reduce the posted speed limit. And then with the new legislation that was recently passed, that gives us a little bit more discretion to adjust those speed limits by an additional 5 miles an hour. So after we do the restriping and resurvey, we'll bring something back, and I'm hoping that the number will come down. So, and then we can adopt a lower limit and then repost it.
I think that makes good sense. And on the other thing, on the verticals you were talking about, airing some dirty laundry, I got my first speeding ticket going down one of those hills. My last speeding ticket too, by the way, but that's a real thing.
I will say, when you do that speed survey, let me know. I will drive it slowly as many times as you like.
We'll give the heads up.
Very good. All right, anything else, guys? Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, interim striping on YNEZ Road from Santiago Road to Rancho Vista.
Maybe if I can preface this report.
Go for it.
So, David, you may have seen this. So we have a project in the CIP budget to do the ultimate widening on YNEZ Road from Santiago to Rancho Vista, and then also from Rancho Vista to Tierra Vista to be able to complete the full widening all the way to Rancho Cal. And that's in the program. It's planned to be budgeted, and that's going to take a year or so to design and prepare all the environmental studies. So we're looking at doing that ultimate widening, which would allow for the 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each directions in 2023, probably later part of 2023. And then this project is something that Nick and the traffic team came up with as an interim solution because of the fact that we have very heavy congestion on at least the northbound side of YNEZ. So that's the prelude to this report.
Thank you, Pat. So the traffic group, we learned that the pavement rehabilitation that was going to be occurring on YNEZ Road from Santiago to Rancho Vista, we saw that as an opportunity to review the area and verify if there's any interim striping that can be done to help improve the conditions on that roadway, especially, as Pat said, in that northbound direction. YNEZ Road is a secondary arterial providing access to several of our east-west corridors. Due to the various street section widths and current striping layouts, there's a daily backup for northbound traffic trying to access Pauba Road and Rancho Vista Road. I personally, every time I drive that from City Hall, I'm very confused. As you come up to Pauba Road, there's one lane and everyone kind of drives into the bike lane, and so I saw that as one of the first things when I got to the city. I was like, in my head, like, this bothers me. It's confusing, and to me, it's unsafe when some people go into it, some don't, some wait to get to the light. So to me, it's a little bit of a traffic issue. So we reviewed the location out in the field, and we came up with the concept here. So there is a pinch point on, there's a narrow section of Pauba Road, and I think what we measured that we could fit is, as shown on this YNEZ number 1 picture here, is 2 northbound lanes, a bike lane, a 10-foot stripe median for left turns into any driveway, side streets, and then 1 southbound lane, and then also with a bike lane. As we go to a little bit wider section of roadway, we can get an extra southbound lane. So we have two lanes in each direction, and then maintain the same cross-section of the bike lanes and the center median turn lane. So to our Google aerial. So as you go from this cross street here, Santiago, we go one northbound lane, one southbound lane, and then you got your turn lanes at the signal. As you go by this side street, this is Mountain View, we open up to 2 lanes. And as you can see, we have bike lanes on both sides, and we maintain our turn lanes into the side streets. We maintain 2 northbound lanes all the way until Pauba Road. So this allows us to get, where we're going to get the improvement in traffic is we're going to be able to push through 2 lanes through the Pauba Road intersection. Right now, we only have 1, so that causes backup much further than I think it should. So now we're going to be able to get 2 northbound lanes through that signal. And as you can tell, at the signal, we also have 2 southbound lanes, but it merges down into 1 as you go south of Pauba. We're able to carry this 4-lane section all the way until you get to Rancho Vista. As you get to Rancho Vista, we drop off that number 2 northbound lane. It turns into a right turn pocket. Pretty much the same situation that we have right now. So we think this is going to be pretty helpful to help relieve congestion. It's not going to fix it. We're still probably may have issues at Rancho Vista until we get this section north of Rancho Vista widened based on this development project in conjunction with the city. But we think as we're doing pavement work out here on YNEZ, we may as well try to fix this with some interim striping. And that's what we have shown here. And with that, staff's recommendation is for the commission to receive and file this report for installation of interim striping improvements on YNEZ Road from Santiago Road to Rancho Vista Road. And that concludes the presentation. Any questions?
Is there an anticipated timeline for this stopgap measure?
Yeah, this is actually going to be implemented this summer, right when school gets out, I believe.
Yeah, and in addition to the restriping that you saw there too, we're going to be doing some pavement replacements. Some of the really bad pavement on that northbound side of YNEZ, we'll remove and replace that. Then do this interim restriping, and then when we have the ultimate plans ready next year, we'll come through and repave it all and restripe it with the 4 lanes, and again, full width repavement on that too. So.
I still have the concern with the pinch at Rancho Vista still. I know we can't do anything about that. When that section north of Rancho Vista is eventually widened, I mean, right now that drops off pretty steeply. That's a major civil engineering project, right?
It is, and we're actually working with a developer who's doing the housing project there, just to the north there, on the plans for that. And the plan is that we'll do all of that as one project, and the developer will pay for their part of the frontage. So, but we're working on both the environmental studies and the engineering design of that section there too. And Ron may be able to give us an update on that.
Yeah, that is correct. Currently, they're doing some biological surveys right now, and they have looked at the engineering constraints in there. So there are some walls that are going to have to be constructed. Right. We will still obviously need a temporary construction easement from that parcel owner. And we have not approached that parcel owner yet because there is one parcel between the Rancho Highlands project, and that is currently being graded, and you see it out there at the duck pond, and Rancho Vista. So we still have some work to do to approach that property owner and then finish out the design, get the environmental permits, and then we will be in good shape after that.
And that widening will include a sidewalk there as well?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Pat anticipated my question, so thank you for the context at the top of the presentation. This is an exceedingly clever idea from Nick and the traffic group. I wanted to thank you for that. And I didn't want to let the moment pass without acknowledging just how much time and frustration this is going to save our residents. Really appreciate that you're getting the most out of the road that we have today. I think that's emblematic of the Temecula way of doing things. So thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item number 5, summer recess, June 2022. Is there a report? It says there's a report.
I'll give you a brief report on that one. So the city council has decided to cancel their second meeting in June, which is June 28th, and take that off as a summer break. So the question for the commission is, would you like to do the same with your June meeting, which is currently scheduled for June 24th? And if you would like to cancel that, we don't have anything really pressing for that agenda. So if you would like to cancel that meeting, that's your decision. And if you would like to do that, we'll just post that as canceled and then adjourn to the regular meeting in July.
That break sounds good to me. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah, I'll just need a motion and a second for it, please.
Pardon?
Motion and second for
I
it.
move the recommendation, we cancel the June meeting.
Okay,
I'll second.
alrighty. And then Ackerman,
Aye.
Carter,
Aye.
Maddox,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
All right, move on to division reports. We have no fire, but I see we have CHP. Good evening.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate it. Hey, so some recent stats from the Temecula CHP, 13 child safety seat installations. So that program's off and running, I guess post-COVID, I'd say, but I think we're still feeling some effects from COVID. 3 teen driver presentations, 1 Start Smart presentation, 1 adult distracted driver presentation, 3 Age Well Drive Smart presentations, and 3 traffic safety booths set up at local events. Citations issued, 779. Total enforcement contacts, 1,260. And we're currently working on monthly enforcement details with other CHP areas that are bordering ours. So in an effort to slow traffic down going through our area, the Temecula area. Driving under the influence, monthly arrests are at 45. We had 14 DUI traffic collisions included in those 45 arrests. As far as traffic collisions go, non-injury collisions, 76, injury collisions, 55, fatal traffic collisions, 4. Our fatal year to date is currently at 17. Total traffic collisions, 135 for our area. Do you guys have any questions?
What was last year's fatal for the entire year?
Oh, sir, I don't.
But it was much less than the 17 right now, right?
For the year to date, I think historically we're floating right around the same numbers. The anomaly that we've seen was the COVID years, 2020, I believe. We saw a huge dip because there wasn't much traffic early in that particular year, but I think 17 is right at the mark.
All right, thank you for that report. I see we have TPD Sheriff. Good evening. Anything to report?
Can you hear me now? For us, we had a pretty good month in April. We had 1,210 hazardous citations written, which is almost a 0.25% more than the previous month. This is the first month in a while that we haven't had a new motor in training that ties up usually 2 positions. So it was the first time in a while that we were fielding a full team, and we saw a big uptick there. Our non-hazardous citations were 187. Click it or ticket is peaked up. Normally in this city, we have a very high compliance rate with wearing a seatbelt, and it's unusual for us to get as many as 47 tickets. Distracted driver, April was, that we focused on that in April, and we had 392, which is about 3 times what we normally see. For parking citations, we had 174, written warnings were 206. Stoplight abuse program, 116. And we had 21 commercial enforcement citations. We had 20 injury collisions, which is a slight downtick from the month prior, and we had 35 DUI arrests. Oh, they got it up there. And then I'm not as familiar with the Part 1 crimes, but the Part 1 crimes we had 252. And unfortunately, I don't have month to month readily available to put that in perspective for you. That's all I have. Just one other thing, we did recently purchase some tattletale lights, which I'm gonna have to get with the traffic engineers. And that should help us with the stoplight abuse program. It will allow us to sit in a different location from being able to physically see the light. We'll be able to have a little light that tells us when that light's red from a safe location that we can monitor the traffic. So hopefully we'll see a more effective increase in some of our busier intersections with that.
Very good. I'd like to give a personal thanks for the cell phone sites being way up. I am convinced that it is a major contributor to traffic where drivers aren't ready to proceed when it's their turn, and it causes frustration among the people who aren't on their cell phones. So it's just bad all the way around. So I'm really glad to see that count up.
Thank you. People are never happy when you give them the citation for sitting stopped in traffic with it on, but I enjoy it. So.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. We'll move on. Traffic engineers report.
Just one item, and I'm going to ask Ron to give us an update on a couple of new traffic signals that are under construction. But at the city council meeting on Tuesday night, we also got approval of plans and authorization to bid a new traffic signal at Ranch California and T Drive. So that'll be bidding here this summer and be under construction probably before the end of the year. And then Ron's got some updates on some other traffic signals. And I also wanted to mention that tomorrow afternoon, if you're around Old Town, we're doing the ribbon cutting on the Murrieta Creek Trail. So the pedestrian bicycle trail going through Old Town on Murrieta Creek. So that's actually tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. So you can come down and walk the trail and go get dinner.
On the Waverly signal, that's the one on YNEZ Road, just by the Mercedes dealership. We call it the Waverly signal. The contractor, which is part of the development of Heirloom Farms, that multifamily, single-family project that's ongoing, it's been graded. They're starting to work on their models. Condition of development is that signal needs to be operational prior to the very first building permit. So therefore, they've been working diligently to try to get it. So the poles are up. Everything's in there with the exception of Edison. So they have not energized it. They'll be working with Nick, who has already completed the signal timing and get the control cabinet, get all that out there. They're anticipating within about a month that they would have everything complete and that signal will be operational. And currently it's a 4-way stop with the lighted flashing stop signs because of the amount of people that start taking off down YNEZ and are trying to really go down, pretty quickly down that road. So that's going to be complete here shortly. You had a question about that one?
So that's one of the northernmost signals in the city. Will that be on our fiber network too?
Condition of development was for them to install fiber.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we are conditioning the other developments to complete the fiber down to Winchester Road. So then we'll have a complete system that way. Yeah. And then the second one is the Wabash signal out on Temecula Parkway at the Park and Ride. That one, they set the meter. So that one's a little further along, and that should be complete here very shortly. So they need to finish up some median work, some restoration, same as the other one.
And then that one will come online here pretty quickly as well.
All right. Thank you. So Commissioner reports, I guess I'll start to segue off of you. So I had long ago hoped that the Waverly signal would be a giant traffic circle, but I'll let that go. But it's good to see control going in there regardless. I'll report I attended City Council on Tuesday, and it was impressive. And Mayor Ron noted that like 20 of the 30 items on consent were traffic. So it's really amazing with the staff we have. The volume of work that the city is doing in public works is really impressive. So congratulations on being recognized there. So you're going to hire more people to get all this done?
Well, new people coming on board.
Very good. All right, so I was going to mention the Creek Walk ribbon cutting at 4. There's also a water safety event at CRC on Friday. Is that also this Friday, I think?
I am not sure.
Okay.
Dave may know.
I believe it is also Friday, do you know?
Yeah, I believe it's at 6 o'clock, I want to say.
6 o'clock, okay. Trying to schedule my Friday real time here, so hit that on the way home from the Creek Walk. Okay, very good, and let's see, I think, there was also another safety-related story at City Council. They recognized a young man, 18 years old, I think, who completed his lifeguard and CPR training on Friday, and Saturday he saved a woman's life at the CRC pool. It was just really an amazing story to see him there, be honored. I think it was a little bit of a surprise for him because they were there as a group to complete their training.
You know, and actually, I think he said he was in Huntington Beach. He was at a different pool I think he was a water polo player, and they were playing a match up in Huntington Beach. So he was at a completely unfamiliar location and took the initiative to when he saw the woman that was having problem, get her out of the water and get the AED set up and apply that. And yeah, pretty impressive actions for an 18-year-old young man. So,
yeah, and it was good to see the City Council recognize him in an appropriate way. So that's all I had. Anyone else on Commissioner reports? Brad?
I have a few items. Sorry, guys. Number one, we met last night with the Utility Art Box Committee. It went well. We had 67 artists submit probably about 95 pictures. We were asked to come up with just one artist per utility box. There was 17 of them available. And the group did a great job. It worked very cohesively. The process was fair, and believe it or not, we whipped the whole thing out in about an hour and 15 minutes. So that's been completed. So I imagine that'll start to move through the pipeline after council approves it. On another issue, I attended the booth on Saturday at the Diversity Fair, and I noted, well, we had a tragic road rage episode, but before the road rage episode, when I got there early, I thought people were going to come out of their cars and kill each other. It was really backlogged. What was happening was, apparently unannounced, the north end of Front Street was closed. So no one knew that was coming up.
yeah, I think that was as a result of the incident.
No, this was hours before the incident.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I don't know if that was planned or not planned, but as a result, because I went up to go and drive by the kids thing before doing the fair time, and that was an hour or so before. So I don't know what was going on, but it's just something to note. If we are going to do closures like that, it'd be a good idea to put a notice in advance that it's coming, and also to on the south side going north. But I'm pretty sure I was like an hour before the episode. And problem is people were gridlocking, and so no one could make a left if you're heading south on the, say, 1st or 2nd Street to get to the event, and it was just, people were getting irate. So if it was post because of the event, a tragic event, I understand, but if not, just a good idea that we perhaps
Yeah, I'm not aware of any closures that were planned for for last weekend, so.
Okay, well, and then one last issue. I have a resident in Wolf Creek that is about to go berserk on the city over Red Hawk approaching Margarita, right by the golf there. You know, the tree roots are really starting to raise up through the number 1 lane there. And so as a result, when you're driving along, sometimes he's noticed an increase of rear enders because as you're driving along, your tires are not always on the ground because they're coming up off those roots and people are popping into each other. Do we have any plans on how to deal with those roots and what's going on? Because those were all pre-city planted.
Problem, you know, we can root prune and dig out and replace the asphalt. What's the location again? You said
It's where you're making making a left off of Wolf Valley onto Red Hawk,
Okay.
number 1 lane, all the way through right in front of the golf course there. Yeah, and it seems to end there, but those tree roots just are all right there, causing quite a problem. And that's it for me.
No? Okay, I think we're good. So we will now adjourn this meeting of the Public Traffic Safety Commission. We have canceled the June 23rd meeting, so I believe the next meeting will be July 28th, and we'll see you all then. Yeah, have a good summer.